Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson. It's August 20th, 2014, and let's get straight into our news tonight. We have news hot off the press at thedrudgereport.com. Teachers suspended for having black and white students reenact the Mike Brown shooting. This is news out of Alabama and was uploaded to an online forum. I'm absolutely shocked by what my 6th grade child came home telling me that happened in school, Brantley Elementary. His teacher made them reenact 2 current shootings of young black males. The white students had to play the police officer. And while I respect that they're trying to stay up to date with the current events, having students forced into a situation where they may be uncomfortable, they may not like playing the aggressor, they may not like playing the victim, and having them reenact this may have been very uncomfortable for some of these students. I'd imagine they wouldn't force them to reenact a rape scene, but we'll see how this continues to develop, and it's my understanding that the teacher was put on administrative leave with pay. But what concerns me more than reenactments is what's actually going on in Ferguson, Missouri. Cop points a gun at journalist, says, "I'm going to effing kill you."
My hands are up, bro. My hands are up. Watch it. Watch it. Watch it. Raise and point at the You're gonna kill him. You're gonna kill him. What's your name? Your name's Joe. All right, go. Hello, officer.
As shocking as that scene is, there is some light at the end of the tunnel. The Huffington Post reports that the officer has been removed from duty. It says, "Cop in Ferguson to protesters, I will effing kill you." And they have the update. The St. Anne Police Department has released a statement saying the officer involved in threatening protesters has been suspended indefinitely, which is exactly what needs to happen. They need some accountability in these departments. We don't need guys running around pointing guns at people's chests. We don't need people putting laser sights on people. We don't need the smoke canisters and the tear gas and all these things going on. So I'm glad to see that they're at least having some accountability. It's very unfortunate it had to get so much publicity for this guy to be reprimanded, but I'm glad that it happened nonetheless. And it's not just the cops that are acting bad out there. You have provocateurs in the crowd, in the general populace, people marching with the largely peaceful protesters. And we have this video caught on tape, a provocateur throwing bricks at the Ferguson Police Department.
He's throwing bricks. He's throwing bricks at us. He's not a protester. 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 Get your ass protester, hands up. Get over here. Get your rocks. You don't get your ass whooped. I didn't throw anything. You throwing rocks, police. Get your ass from over here. I'm leaving. Get the fuck from over here. Now.
Who are you with? Where are you from? Are you from Ferguson? You're from? Are you even from this area? Where are you from?
He was hired by police. He was hired by police. He was hired by police. Where you from?
I was not hired by the police.
He's hired by police. What the fuck are you doing?
It's about the feds. Were you hired by the feds by any chance?
No. We asked you. Listen. We asked you to leave. I'll tell him about it. Let him go. Let him go. Stop walking with the people and walk away. Go.
And we apologize for that graphic language, but that's what it is. That's what happens live on the scene. And I'm glad to see the people of Ferguson saying, hey, this guy's an outsider. He's not here with us, not because of his race, but because of his actions. These provocateurs who just want to come in and stir up strife, start an armed conflict with the police. It's always these cowards who want to throw the brick, throw the bottle from behind the protesters. They don't want to get up in front of the police where they can be seen and be held accountable. No, they want to stand behind you. They want to stand behind me. They will stand behind Joe Biggs or whoever else is out there. So, if the police do open fire, they open fire on the people immediately in front of them, not the person who actually did the offense. So good luck to you guys out there in Ferguson for taking care of your community. And something we need to take care of, the war propaganda. We have this article, supposed ISIS beheading of American journalist. The corporate media is employing adverbs, purportedly, seemingly, apparently, to describe the reported beheading of American freelance journalist James Wright Foley. On Tuesday, a video was posted on YouTube allegedly showing Foley's beheading. The video is titled "A Message to America" and shows a man said to be Foley on his knees. Now, I haven't had a chance to see the full video of this because I haven't been able to find it. I looked on YouTube, live links, several other sources. The best thing I could find was a guy who was on his knees and a knife comes to his throat. Then it cuts and it ends up with a guy laying on the ground with his head chopped off, which leads a lot of people to speculate the authenticity of this video. So I can't so much speak on that, but I can speak on how this is being used. The war drums are being beaten. Barack Obama came out with a very quick reaction to this. U.S. will do what it must against the cancer of IS.
From governments and peoples across the Middle East, there has to be a common effort to extract this cancer so that it does not spread. There has to be a clear rejection of these kind of nihilistic ideologies. One thing we can all agree on is that a group like ISIL has no place in the 21st century.
And that's from a good, strong speech from Obama. He talks a good game, but the issue is, as much as he doesn't like ISIS, he's funding people, the Syrian rebels, who are doing the similar actions to ISIS, cutting off people's heads, burning down entire villages. So as much as he wants you to act like he cares about the situation, he's arming people who are doing the exact same thing. But it doesn't stop with President Obama. The CFR is now involved. CFR boss calls for military action against ISIS. Richard Haass, director of the Council on Foreign Relations, and a former high-level functionary at the State Department, is calling for attacking ISIS. His tweet reads, "Foley murder shows ISIS a global threat. Need to broaden U.S.-led campaign beyond humanitarian and protection of U.S. personnel to the strategic." The CFR, as Hillary Clinton has repeatedly admitted, drives U.S. foreign policy. So you have these guys all around from Obama on down saying that, hey, we need to go to war with ISIS, another boogeyman. We can't just have Al-Qaeda after 9/11. Now we need a new boogeyman. So they want to go out and, I guess, combat ISIS. But the issue is you have ISIS that isn't really confined to any one particular area. So if you declare war against an enemy with no specific nation, then what are you going to do? You see the map of ISIS, their 5-year plan has big chunks of Africa and other areas blacked out, saying this is how we plan to expand in the next 5 years. Also in Ferguson, Missouri, we see the guys walking around behind the TV crews with the ISIS is here flags and all that stuff. So, how are we going to combat ISIS? Do we need to send more troops to Ferguson, Missouri to fight ISIS? Do we need to send more troops, more boots on the ground in Africa to combat ISIS? And that's the issue with this. Meanwhile, you have them funding people who are doing the exact same things as ISIS, but they hate that when, ISIS does it. And the thing that I hate, attacks on my Second Amendment rights. Smart gun inventor threatens Attorney General Eric Holder, I'll burn it down. Smart gun inventor Bill Gentry of Kodiak Industries threatened in a closed 2013 meeting with Attorney General Eric Holder to, quote, burn it down, end quote, if his new technology is mandated by gun control laws. Gentry's IntelliGun includes a patented trigger lock device that can be only unlocked by a fingerprint, much like an iPhone. And while I do respect people, advances in technology, if you want a smart gun, then go get a smart gun. I personally don't want one, and I'm very happy to see this guy come out and say, hey, I don't want this to be mandated across the board. Because just like you think about a cell phone, a cell phone has a kill switch. They have the various technologies where they can burst into your cell phone. Hey, Amber Alert, they kidnapped this little girl, which is very unfortunate. It's something you may want to be abreast of. But let's say they put the same technology into a gun. They suspect that a kidnapper is in a certain region. Let's kill everybody's gun in this region so we can go catch the bad guy. Or even the situation in Ferguson. Let's say everybody out there had a smart gun. The police show up, kill everybody's gun. And you say, well, why wouldn't you want people to be unarmed in that situation? Because you have the shop owners out there trying to protect their property. They need their firearm. The people who live in that community, they don't want somebody trying to bust in their house. They need the firearm to protect themselves. So, I'm very much against a mandated smart gun, but if you want one, that's ultimately your business. And let's talk about the business of the green movement, because, this is some mean green going on here. Solar power plants downside, birds igniting in midair. Federal wildlife investigators who visited Bright Source Energy plant last year and watched as birds burned and fell reported an average of one streamer, that's a burning bird, every 2 minutes, are urging California officials to halt the operator's application to build a still larger facility. So what they want to do is have even more solar farms, and I think solar is great. I think it's a great alternative energy. I'm interested in it myself. I just can't afford it at this juncture. But I think it's a great technology. But if you have these large solar farms killing your birds, just like you have the big wind farms killing the bats, you need to take these things into account, because you can't say I'm doing my part to be green when you're killing off the wildlife. And meanwhile, you're all snooty and you're trendy because you drive around in your your Prius, even though it's powered by coal power. You just, put the electric socket into it. So just more food for thought. And speaking of food, we're talking about not only the food, but the water when we come back after this break. Rob Dew will be talking about the threats you may face if you do not do the filtered water system like we have here at INFOWARS.com. Also, Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs will be documenting the situation from last night in Ferguson, Missouri. And also Larry Pinckney will give you the whole breakdown of what he thinks about President Obama's current regime. This is the INFOWARS Nightly News. Stay tuned.
Alex Jones here to tell you about how you can help spread liberty worldwide while also enjoying what I have found to be the best tasting 100% organic coffee on the planet. For more than a decade, my favorite coffee has come from the high mountains of southern Mexico, where the Chiapas farmers grow their unique shade-grown Arabica beans. We have now managed to secure these sought-after beans in a highly customized blend. Discover and try a bag of the Patriot Blend 100% organic coffee at InfoWarsLife.com. This coffee gives you a long, smooth pick-me-up for hours without the headaches and heartburn that so many other coffees give me personally. Hands down, this is my favorite coffee, and it's taken us years to secure connections directly to the Chiapas Mexican farmers. Drop by the site today, order a bag or two, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Available in original or with our immune support infusion blend. You will be supporting a free press, all the while enjoying a truly great-tasting cup of my favorite coffee. Available at InfoWarsLife.com.
And welcome back. In Ferguson, Missouri, we've seen reports about police silencing the press, but they've gone a step beyond that now. Watch this clip.
Joe Biggs here with InfoWars.com in Ferguson, Missouri, now for the 8th day. We're going to continue to bring you up-to-date coverage of what is going on out here. Now, one of the big questions for tonight, and pretty much every night, will the police attack the protesters? And if so, are they also going to infringe on the media's First Amendment rights? Because we've been seeing it more and more every day. Now, like I said, this is our 8th day here. This is the first time in the past few days we haven't had a designated media section right over here beside the McDonald's. They have completely cleared that out, and they have only set up an area back at the Martial Law Command Center where you saw us last night on the press conference held by Captain Johnson.
We're not sure who's a journalist and who's not. And yes, if I see somebody with a $50,000 camera on their shoulder, I'm pretty sure.
It seems like there's a lot more activity tonight than there was last night, and that could be due to the fact that another person was yet killed again by a police officer. Justified or not, the people in this town have their emotions running high, and this could affect how things act the rest of the week.
Hands up! Hands up!
Right before everything turned into pure and total chaos in Ferguson, there was calm. Kit began investigating reports of provocateurs in the area around the time I came across a stash of glass bottles sitting under this metallic bin. Instead of getting shot by the cops, because honestly, I had walked across and kicked one and it just made my skin crawl. I was like, oh my God, they're gonna all hear that and they're just gonna start shooting rounds at me. I didn't pick up the bottle. Instead, I walked over to numerous officers and I said, hey, I don't want anything to break out here tonight. I don't want anything bad to happen, but I just want you to let you know I found a stash of glass bottles of the same brand, so they're not just random ones, and they're sitting under this bin over there, like stacked together. They didn't do anything about it. The cops were more concerned with sweeping the media out of the area. So I'm sitting there for a second, it calms down. I run back to the road where there's this like metal wire going across the sidewalk, and I hear